Imagine Bulgaria in the 1200s, a land rich in history and culture, yet teetering on the brink of chaos. Welcome to Cryptic Mystic Vault, where we explore the enigmatic tales and unsolved puzzles of history. The once great Bulgarian Empire, a force that once challenged the mighty city of Constantinople, was crumbling under the weight of internal strife and external pressures. The kings were weak, and the nobles, hungry for power and wealth, took advantage of the instability, plotting and scheming in the shadows. They forgot about the common people, the farmers and workers who were the heart of Bulgaria, toiling day and night to sustain the land. These people were burdened with heavy taxes and their cries for fairness went unheard, their lives growing more desperate with each passing day. But from this darkness a beacon of hope emerged, a glimmer of light in the form of an unlikely hero. In the most unlikely of places, among the pigsties and farmlands, rose a man named Ivaylo, a simple pig farmer with a vision. Ivaylo was no ordinary pig farmer. He was a man of great determination and charisma, qualities that set him apart from his peers. He was a leader, a powerful speaker who could move the hearts of men with his words, igniting a spark of rebellion in their souls. He saw the suffering of his people, felt their pain as his own, and he refused to stay silent in the face of such injustice. He spoke of a Bulgaria free from oppression, a land where everyone, not just the wealthy, could prosper and live with dignity. His words were like a flame of hope for the downtrodden, a promise of a brighter future that resonated deeply with the oppressed masses. But Ivaylo was more than just a captivating speaker. He was also said to be a deeply spiritual man, guided by a higher purpose. Stories spread like wildfire among the people, tales of divine visions and prophecies that marked Ivaylo as a chosen one, destined to save Bulgaria from its misery and despair. These stories, whether true or legend, added to Ivaylo's growing influence, transforming him from a humble farmer into a savior in the eyes of his followers, a beacon of hope in dark times. The stage was set for a clash that would shake the very core of Bulgarian society, a confrontation between the oppressed and their oppressors. The peasants, fueled by desperation and inspired by a simple pig farmer, were ready to rise up and fight for their freedom, their hearts filled with newfound courage and hope. To understand Ivaylo's rebellion, we need to look at the Byzantine Empire. Once the most powerful force in the East, Constantinople had fallen on hard times. Though recently restored to its former glory, the empire still yearned for its lost power and influence. Bulgaria, weakened by internal conflicts, was an easy target. The Byzantine emperors were masters of manipulation, experts at turning people against each other. They saw Ivaylo's rebellion as a chance to further weaken Bulgaria, making it easier to conquer later. They secretly supported both sides, fueling the chaos and hoping to profit from the inevitable collapse. Byzantine gold flowed into the pockets of corrupt Bulgarian nobles, making them even more oppressive towards the peasants and further fueling the rebellion. At the same time, the Byzantines sent their armies into Bulgaria, pretending to restore order but really aiming to exploit the chaos and seize land for themselves. The ordinary people of Bulgaria were trapped, crushed between the greed of their own leaders and the scheming of the Byzantine Empire. It was in this fiery crucible of conflict, facing enemies from within and outside, that Ivaylo's true leadership would be tested. He was not just fighting for fairness, he was fighting for the survival of his people and the freedom of his nation. Ivaylo's message struck a chord with the desperate Bulgarian peasants, resonating deeply with their long-suppressed hopes and dreams. For generations they had known only hardship and injustice, toiling endlessly in the fields with little to show for their labor. Here was a man, one of their own, promising them freedom from their oppressors. The response was electric, a spark igniting a long-dormant flame. From every village and farm, men rallied to Ivaylo's cause, leaving behind their plows and taking up arms. They came armed with whatever they could find: pitchforks, scythes, rusty swords and axes, transforming their tools of labor into instruments of rebellion. These were not trained soldiers, but they were driven by a righteous fury, a burning desire for a better life, and a collective will to fight for their freedom. Ivaylo, the peasant-turned-prophet, now became their general, a beacon of hope and a symbol of their struggle. He knew his makeshift army couldn't match the wealthy nobles or the Byzantines in terms of weapons or training, but he had something they lacked: the unyielding spirit of a people fighting for their very existence, a spirit that could not be easily crushed. He understood the land, the changing seasons, and the importance of exploiting the enemy's weaknesses, using every advantage he could find. He instilled discipline and unity, transforming his ragtag group into a surprisingly effective fighting force, capable of standing up to their oppressors. Ivaylo's army, fueled by righteous anger and a desperate hope for a better future, swept across the Bulgarian countryside, leaving a trail of defiance in their wake. They targeted the estates of corrupt nobles, tearing down symbols of oppression and returning stolen wealth to the poor, reclaiming what was rightfully theirs. Each victory, no matter how small, attracted more recruits, swelling the ranks of Ivaylo's army and strengthening their resolve. News of the peasant czar and his improbable victories spread like wildfire, striking fear into the hearts of the nobility and attracting the attention of the Byzantine emperor himself, who could no longer ignore the growing threat. Ivaylo's rebellion, once dismissed as a minor annoyance, was becoming a force to be reckoned with, a movement that could change the course of history. Ivaylo's army, though large, was outmatched in almost every way. They were primarily composed of peasants, lacking the formal training and advanced weaponry of their adversaries. The Bulgarian nobles had heavily armored cavalry and seasoned mercenaries, warriors who had seen countless battles and were well versed in the art of war. While the Byzantines fielded professional soldiers equipped with the latest military technology, making them a formidable force on the battlefield. But Ivaylo, the pig farmer turned rebel leader, possessed a sharp military mind. His background may have been humble, but his strategic thinking was anything but. He knew he couldn't win a traditional battle, so he refused to fight one. Instead, he devised unconventional tactics that would level the playing field. He became a master of guerrilla warfare, using the rugged Bulgarian terrain to his advantage. The mountains and forests became his allies. He knew every hill and valley, every forest path and mountain pass. His intimate knowledge of the land was a crucial element of his strategy. He would ambush enemy patrols, disrupt supply lines, and vanish back into the wilderness before reinforcements could arrive. His hit-and-run tactics kept his enemies constantly on edge. His tactics were a mix of cleverness and ruthlessness, designed to break the enemy's spirit and wear them down over time. Psychological warfare played a significant role in his strategy. He turned his lack of resources into a strength, using ingenuity and the element of surprise to outmaneuver his foes, forcing his enemies to fight on his terms, in a war of shadows and sudden strikes. His unpredictability was his greatest weapon. While the Byzantine generals and Bulgarian nobles clung to their traditional formations and strategies, Ivaylo adapted. He was always one step ahead. He embraced mobility, surprise, and the element of fear. His enemies never knew when or where he would strike next. His army, though lacking in heavy armor and sophisticated weaponry, was agile and could move quickly through the terrain, was unified by a common purpose and inspired by their leader's bravery. Ivaylo's courage was a beacon for his men. They were fighting for their homes, their families, and their future, and that gave them a ferocity that shocked their more well-equipped adversaries. Their determination was unbreakable. Ivaylo, the shepherd of pigs, had become a shepherd of wolves, leading his men with a fierce and unyielding spirit, and the very land of Bulgaria was his weapon. The terrain that once seemed like a hindrance became his greatest ally in the fight for freedom. Imagine a world where Ivaylo's rebellion had failed. Bulgaria would have remained under the oppressive rule of the nobility, stifling any chance for peasant uprisings. The spirit of resistance that Ivaylo ignited in his people would have been extinguished, leaving the peasants to toil under the heavy yoke of their lords. Gap 2s. The consequences of such a failure would have rippled far beyond the borders of Bulgaria. The idea of peasant power, which Ivaylo's success had begun to plant in the minds of the oppressed across Europe, would have been delayed. Without his example, the courage to rise against tyranny might have taken generations longer to manifest. The balance of power in medieval Europe would have been different, with the nobility maintaining a stronger grip on their territories. Gap 2s. This delay in the rise of peasant power could have altered the course of history. The Renaissance, a period that thrived on new ideas and innovations, might have been slowed. The spread of knowledge, art, and science could have faced significant obstacles without the social upheavals that challenged the old order. Gap 2s. Ivaylo's rebellion, despite its humble origins, was a beacon of hope. It showed that even the most downtrodden could aspire to change their fate. His failure would have cast a long shadow over Europe, a shadow that might have dimmed the light of progress for centuries. Gap 3s. But history did not take that darker path. Ivaylo's courage and ingenuity carved out a different future. one where the seeds of rebellion and empowerment began to sprout. His legacy, though born in the wild mountains and forests of Bulgaria, resonated far beyond, touching the hearts and minds of those who would continue the fight for justice and equality. Gap 2s. Ivaylo's story is a testament to the power of the human spirit. It reminds us that even the humblest among us can change the course of history, and in doing so, they can light the way for generations to come. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more mind-blowing discoveries and thrilling adventures into the past.